It's the Amityville Horror Archives revisited once again. This time I'm going to touch upon one of the most horrifying passages from Jay Anson's book. It comes at the end of chapter 5. Let's go right to the excerpt. Kathy pulled the light chain hanging from the closet ceiling and looked around the small room. It was empty except for one thing. On the very first day the Lutzes had moved in, she had hung a crucifix on the inner wall facing the closet door, just as she had done when they lived in Deer Park. A friend had originally given her the crucifix as a wedding present. Made of silver, it was a beautiful piece, about 12 inches long, and had been blessed a long time before. As Kathy looked around at it now, her eyes widened in horror. She began to gag at the sour smell. She couldn't retreat from the sight of the crucifix, now hanging upside down. And I was like, oh! The first time I read it, and it comes pretty early on. It's probably one of the most shocking moments early on, other than Kathy being touched by the ghost hand in the kitchen. This is the one that really gets you off your seat, at the edge of your seat when you read this entry. And as far as I know, let's go over what else is told in the book. It was in the walk-in closet to their room, the main bedroom. It was blessed by a priest before. And the history of the real-life upside-down crucifix is supposed to represent St. Peter, who was crucified upside down because he thought he was unworthy to be crucified right side up like Jesus Christ. And that's been a Catholic symbol for centuries. And then they say as early as this past century, as in more modern times, that the upside-down inverted crucifix has represented evil or the Antichrist or anti-Christianity. So that goes over the real life meanings of them. Back to the book. Later on, what they do is, in the book, they use the same crucifix where George does his own mockery moment of trying to rid the spirits of the house, where he tries to bless the house like a Catholic priest, but it just kind of provokes the spirit even more, and the spirit ends up being quoted by Anson as saying, "Will you stop?" And that was from the demon. But let's talk about the movie, what they do in the crucifix in the movie. For the 1979 one, they have the upside-down crucifix like in the living room or the hallway or something. And it apparently had no odor. And George ends up dropping it while blessing the house. So they do that scene in the 1979 version. And remember, Kathy grabs it and it basically like burns her or curses her or puts her in a daze from it. And what else? So that's what happens in the 79 version. In the remake, they don't even have a crucifix at all. It's just an upside down on the door handle when the priest is going through. As for real life, what are the Lutzes ever... This is one of the ones you don't see them talk about much, or I haven't really been able to find it yet. I'm sure George Lutz has definitely been asked about it, but I know Christopher Lutz was asked about it in 2011 in an interview. And he was basically asked to give, it was at the end of the interview, and they were asking him like rapid fire kind of questions. And in reference to the cross, he says he doesn't recall the crucifix incident. So that doesn't really confirm or deny it, but... So I haven't really heard, and then Danny doesn't talk about it in my Amityville horror documentary. But I'm sure... George might have been asked about it when he did the John Tell interviews in around 2002. He doesn't say it in the Art Bell interview or isn't asked about it or anything. So I don't know the real life. Oh, but I know Ed and Lorraine Warren. Actually, Ed Warren, he went through the house with the... He showed the real life crucifix, and it was actually a golden one, and it was kind of like... I'd say it was kind of like an ornament type of crucifix. It wasn't a cheap one that you hang. It was kind of like pretty detailed and chiseled out, and it looked kind of gold. I don't think it was pure gold. I'm saying it was the color of gold, as in brass or whatever. Ed says that George went out through the house with a crucifix to cast out the evil, so that did happen, and he wasn't strong enough, and the evil ended up overpowering him. That was there. The power that was there ended up overpowering him. He says that in an interview. So that puts at an end to the upside down crucifix. I think it might have been. I doubt that the crucifix was actually turned upside down. I think that was fictionalized by Jay Anson, because obviously they mentioned in the tapes about the crucifix, and he went off on his own story, and it wasn't even silver. It was ornate gold, like I was saying. But who knows? Until I heard, if you know the information about what George Lutz says about it, this video isn't done then. Until further notice, that's all the information I have on it now. This was JBM, another video whipping out the file of the upside down cross. And I'm out.